Get ready!
Here we go! Henry the Hamster Handler is a simple game revolving around leading cute little hamsters from point A to point B. The hamsters always walk straight, and it's the player's job to deactivate obstacles and deadly traps. The game's recurrent theme is multitasking and coordination for timing button presses. Since there are many hamsters on screen, and each one is going headfirst towards their demise, it's up to the player to carefully press the buttons displayed on the screen at the right time in order to keep the fur balls alive. To deactivate the trap, one must simply press the button that is indicated on the screen at the right time, similar to that of a rhythm game. The simple control scheme makes the game available for anyone. As an alternative way to play the game with a friend, one can share a Joy-Con to create a quote-unquote two-player experience. It also helps with the multitasking, since the player only needs to be concerned with half of the commands. The game has a mixed level of difficulty, as the levels may not be all that consistent. There's levels that have a pair of traps that require the press of one or two buttons, and then there's levels that have a dozen of traps, all requiring a different button press. The levels, even though with random difficulty, they are fair. I'm referring to the fact that there will always be balanced levels, to never keep the player from having extremely hard stages. Levels have the same structure throughout the entire game. After the first 10 levels, you'll have seen all the mechanics and traps the game offers. Odd enough, I've noticed through my playthrough that some levels seem to be reused. The layout of the levels stayed the same, but there were different button presses. With over 30 levels played before doing this review, I had encountered 3 rehashed levels. The game lacks an important feature, almost every game has: a level select menu. There's no way of replaying a level for a second time once it's beaten. It's an odd thing to have missing from a game with so many levels. This is more of a nitpick in my opinion, but there was another issue I had with the menus. When going to the pause screen on levels, pausing the level and pressing A takes the player back to the main menu, making the player restart everything from the previous stage. It's frustrating that more than once I've pressed A and had to redo the same level. It would have been a more logical option for the main menu button to be X or Y. After beating a level, the player earns 1 trophy. There's a total of 300 trophies in the game, each one unlocked by beating that stage. These shiny prizes, however, don't have any real value to the game, so they're practically worthless. There's no value in obtaining one, since it will be granted for beating a stage. Every button pressed at the wrong time takes 1% from the total, and losing a hamster takes 10% of the total. Each stage requires a minimum amount of percentage in order for completion, like 65% for example. It would have been nice to have a prize aside from trophies for acing a stage with a 100%, but sadly that's not the case. Since there's no real value in getting a high percentage, there's no challenge to keep the percentage perfect. My last issue with these levels is that they can feel really long. Hamsters will spawn every 1 or 2 seconds, and there's around 10 hamsters to guide per level. It's difficult at first to keep everything balanced and memorize all the timed button presses to not lose, but there's more hamsters than what we need. After some time, when the player fully memorizes the level, hamsters will continue to spawn for quite some time before the final one appears. This is my biggest problem with the game. Even though the game is based around hamsters, I would have liked a couple less in each stage, to keep it from dragging for too long. The visuals are simple. Everything is 2D and detailed, and not having mind-blowing graphics isn't a bad thing. The visuals make the game accessible for anyone. The game, being about hamster, has to have adorable hamsters. And yes, these furry creatures are ridiculously cute. Just watching them walk makes me smile. And the first time me and my friends saw one of the hamsters inflate like a balloon in order to fly past the gap, we started laughing non-stop because of how ridiculous it is. On the contrary, seeing the hamsters die to one of these traps and seeing them explode into green goo is really odd. I try not to question why hamsters have goo in their bodies. It keeps my sanity safe. The game has quick load times, taking around a second to load a level. The game is great for quick plays, as one can boot up the game, play some levels, and leave, just to come back later and play some more. Music is good, nothing out of the ordinary, but it ended up being catchy. There was a theme that simply irritated me, and I play with the music off anytime it starts playing. Right before a hamster arrives at the trap, you can hear it cue what button the player needs to press. Audio signs help a lot when there are many buttons on screen, as I immediately reacted to the button when I heard it. The concept of multitasking is well executed, thanks to its simple design, easy to learn controls, and a balanced share of difficulty. There's a questionable absence of a level select menu, and it's confusing as to why some levels are rehashed. Levels go on for too long, and I would like to win something for challenging myself to get a perfect percentage, instead of having the same worthless trophy one gets after each stage. Considering the pros and cons of the game, overall it's a good title to have on your Nintendo Switch. The quick load times make it great for a quick, go-to game, and it does bring a challenge to the table. It's currently at a great price, so you can't really go wrong with checking out this game.